Picture this. The cameras are rolling, the stadium lights are blazing, the college football world is holding its breath. For months, whispers circled locker rooms, recruiting offices, and even barbershops about the biggest decision of the year. The #1 recruit in the nation, Travis Hunter, had his eyes set on Florida State school steeped in tradition, a powerhouse that once ruled the gridiron. Fans painted signs, boosters wrote checks, and the entire Seminole Nation believed they had this one locked down. But just when everyone thought the story was over, in walked Deion primetime Sanders, flashing that signature smile, dripping in charisma, and ready to shake the entire system to its core in a move no one saw coming. Deion reached right into the heart of Florida State's future and pulled out its crown jewel. Travis Hunter shocked the world, announcing he was flipping his commitment to tiny Jackson State University. The reactions? Explosive. Fans felt betrayed. Coaches were furious. Families were torn apart. And the internet. It went into absolute meltdown. Was this a bold statement of change? Or the biggest heist in college football history? Buckle up, because this story is about to get messy. The moment Travis Hunter walked up to the microphone on National Signing Day, you could feel the tension crawling through the air. The camera zoomed in, his family sitting in the front row with faces carved in stone. And Florida State fans glued to their screens with red and gold pride flooding their veins. This was supposed to be the day they celebrated their return to glory. But behind the scenes, something darker, juicier, and far more dramatic was brewing. Rumors swirled that Deion Sanders, yes, primetime himself, had been working the phones, slipping into conversations and offering a vision so wild that it seemed almost impossible. Jackson State. Over Florida State? The thought alone made Seminole fans laugh until it didn't. When Travis cleared his throat, the room hushed. His mother squeezed his hand. His father leaned forward, and the world leaned with him. "I've made my decision," he said softly. There was a pause so heavy it could crush steel. Then, in a voice trembling with both nerves and defiance, he uttered the words that detonated college football like a bomb. "I will be attending Jackson State University." Gasps, screams, even sobs erupted instantly. The cameras panned to his family, his mother shaking her head in disbelief. His father slamming a hand onto the table, his younger brother looking as if the floor had dropped beneath him. In the back of the room, a Florida State recruiter's jaw nearly touched the ground. Within seconds, Twitter caught fire. Fans accusing Deion of stealing their future. Others applauding Travis for breaking the system. This wasn't just a decision. This was betrayal, revolution, and pure chaos rolled into one dot as reporters scrambled. Deion Sanders sat in his office at Jackson State, phone in hand, watching the spectacle unfold live. A grin spread across his face, but beneath that smile was a storm of adrenaline. He knew what this meant. He hadn't just landed a recruit, he had declared war on the college football establishment. "They gonna hate me for this?" he muttered, chuckling to himself. "But I was born for the hate." Meanwhile, in Tallahassee, Florida State coaches stormed into their war room, the mood electric with anger. How could this happen? One coach shouted, slamming a clipboard against the wall. "We had him locked in. His mama wanted him here. His daddy wanted him here. What the hell did Deion say to him?" Another coach barked, "He's using his name. It's fame. This ain't recruiting, this is manipulation." But behind their fury was fear. If Deion Sanders could rip the #1 recruit out of their hands, what else could he do? Back at the signing ceremony, Travis's mother refused to clap. Her lips tightened, eyes filled with disappointment. Leaning over, she whispered, "This ain't the plan, baby. You throwing your future away for some flash." But Travis looked at her with a stubborn spark. "Mama, you don't see what I see. Deion believes in me. He's giving me more than football. He's giving me a chance to change the game." His father wasn't so forgiving. He stood up, shaking his head violently. "This is betrayal, Travis. Betrayal of your family, betrayal of tradition. Florida State was waiting for you. Your granddaddy wore those colors, and you just threw it away for some HBCU stunt." The room buzzed with tension. reporters catching every glare, every tremor in their voices. Family Divided was already trending online as clips of the confrontation hit social media. Seminole fans filled comment sections with venom. "He spit in our face," one wrote. "Deion bought him out," another accused. "He'll regret this in 2 years," said a third. But Jackson State fans clapped back with equal fire. "It's about pride, it's about history," one shouted in a viral video. "This is bigger than football." And then came the first twist no one saw coming. A leaked recording surfaced online, allegedly of Deion Sanders himself, hyping Travis with a mix of bravado and conviction. In the clip, Deion's voice rang sharp and powerful. "You don't need their system, son. You are the system. Let's make them come to us for once." Within minutes, the video spread like wildfire. Florida State fans called it proof of tampering. Jackson State supporters said it was just inspiration. The NCAA was suddenly forced into the spotlight, reporters asking whether this was even legal. But legalities weren't the only concern. Behind closed doors, Florida State boosters were furious. Millions had been pledged in donations, all hinging on Travis wearing garnet and gold. One booster, an older man with a fiery temper, reportedly shouted during a meeting, "This ain't over. We'll bury Sanders. You watch?" The tension escalated from sports drama to personal vendetta, while adults played power games. Travis sat alone in his room that night, staring at his phone. Texts poured in, half of them praising him as a trailblazer, half tearing him apart as a traitor. He scrolled endlessly, shoulders heavy with doubt. Then his phone buzzed with a call. Deion's voice came through smooth, reassuring. "You did the right thing, son. Don't let the noise fool you. Noise means you shook the world. And when you shake the world, you know you're on the right path." Travis exhaled, his doubts dimming, but deep down, the war in his heart was just beginning. His mother still refused to speak to him. His father told him bluntly, "Don't come to me when this blows up." Friends from high school were split, some calling him a legend, others saying he'd ruined his future. And the media, they couldn't get enough of the drama. Every news show, every sports podcast dissected the flip as if it were a presidential scandal. And just when it seemed like the fire was finally starting to cool, another twist came crashing in. Rumors leaked that Florida State had been secretly negotiating lucrative nil deals for Travis cars, endorsements, even a local restaurant chain ready to slap his face on billboards. But by flipping to Jackson State, he walked away from millions. Seminole fans used this to paint him as foolish. Jackson State fans spun it as proof that Travis wasn't about the money, but about the movement. The debate grew toxic, dividing not just families and fan bases, but entire communities. People who had never watched a college football game suddenly had an opinion. Churches debated it. Barbershops argued for hours. Students on campuses wore shirts either celebrating or mocking Travis. It wasn't just a signing day decision anymore. It was a cultural earthquake. And while the world tore itself apart, Deion Sanders reveled in the chaos. "I told y'all I'd change the game," he bragged in an interview. And this is just the beginning. But what Deion didn't know was that Florida State's anger wasn't just noise. They were plotting, whispering, pulling strings in the shadows, preparing to strike back at the man who had humiliated them on the biggest stage. What no one realized was that this story had only just begun. The fallout from Travis Hunter's decision was like a storm that refused to move on. Every hour brought new headlines, new accusations, and new waves of outrage. In Tallahassee, Florida State fans gathered outside the football complex, chanting, holding up handmade signs that Red Hunter is a traitor and down with Deion. One particularly angry fan was caught on camera screaming, "He robbed us. He robbed us blind." The clip went viral, sparking endless debates across social media unside. The Florida State staff wasn't just upset, they were fractured. The head coach, red-faced and furious, pointed at his assistants. "Somebody dropped the ball. We had him. We had the paperwork ready. How did he slip away?" One assistant shot back, "You can't fight Deion's celebrity." The man's a walking brand. It wasn't about football, it was about prime-time tempers. Boiled until one coach slammed his fist on the table and shouted, "Then, maybe it's time we play. Then, maybe it's time we play." Dirty 2. Silence followed. A heavy silence that hinted this wasn't going to be just another lost recruit. Meanwhile, Travis was back home, living in what felt like two worlds at once. His phone wouldn't stop buzzing with messages from Jackson State fans calling him a hero, telling him he was rewriting history. But just as many Florida State supporters flooded his DMs with insults, threats, even videos of burning jerseys with his name on the back. He stared at the screen, heart pounding, wondering if he'd bitten off more than he could chew. His mother still hadn't forgiven him. At dinner, she kept her eyes locked on her plate, barely saying a word. Finally, she spoke up, voice cold. "This isn't just about you, Travis. This was about our family. Florida State was stability. Jackson State is risk. You didn't just choose for yourself, you chose for all of us." Travis clenched his jaw. "Mama, I didn't betray y'all. I chose what I believe in." His father scoffed loudly. "Believe in? Or got sold a dream by Deion Sanders? Because, let me tell you something, boy, dreams don't pay the bills." The argument erupted. Voices raised, tears shed. His younger brother storming out of the room. Once again, the family was divided, and once again, the cameras of the media weren't far behind to twist the narrative into drama. Deion Sanders, however, was thriving on the attention. Reporters packed his press conference, microphones shoved in his face. "Did you steal Travis Hunter from Florida State?" One shouted. Deion leaned back, flashing his trademark grin. "Steal? Nah, baby. I don't steal. I attract. You don't steal the sun, you just bask in it." The room exploded with laughter, gasps, and more questions. "What about the accusations of tampering?" Deion raised his hands. "Tampering? Please. You can't tamper with destiny. It was a line made for television." And within minutes, it was trending worldwide. But behind the swagger, Deion knew things were heating up. Calls from rival coaches flooded the NCAA offices, demanding investigations. Florida State boosters were quietly rallying lawyers, hoping to dig into whether Deion had crossed any lines. Rumors even circulated that Florida State's head coach privately accused Deion of dangling illegal benefits to lure Travis away, as if the fire needed more fuel. Another leak hit the internet, a text thread, allegedly between Travis and a Jackson State assistant coach. In the messages, Travis wrote, "FSU doesn't get it. They see me as another piece in their puzzle. Prime sees me as the puzzle itself." The quote sent fans spiraling. Seminole supporters blasted him as arrogant, while Jackson State fans wore it like a badge of honor. And then came the next twist. An unexpected public statement from Florida State's athletic director. Standing at a podium, face tight with controlled rage, he declared, "We believe improprieties occurred in this recruitment. We are exploring all options to protect the integrity of our program." Reporters immediately asked if he meant Deion Sanders. The director's silence spoke louder than words. Within hours, the headline screamed, "Florida State declares war on Deion Travis." Caught in the center of it all, tried to focus on football. But even on the practice field, the drama followed him. Teammates teased him, opponents trash-talked him. Fans showed up to games holding signs with messages like "Traitor" and "Deion's puppet." He tried to block it out, but the whispers seeped in, turning every practice into a mental battlefield. One night, sitting in his dorm room at Jackson State, Travis broke down and called his mother. "Mama, I don't know if I can handle this," he admitted, voice cracking. There was a long pause before she finally said, "You made your choice. Now you've got to live with it. But don't think for one second that pressure will go away. It only grows." Back in Tallahassee, the Florida State boosters weren't just talking, they were acting. One wealthy donor called a meeting with other big names in the program. Behind closed doors, voices clashed, accusations flew. But one message rang clear. They weren't just going to sit back and lick their wounds. If Deion wants to play big boy football, one donor spat. Then, let's see how he likes a big boy fight. Word of this meeting leaked, and suddenly, fans began speculating about secret investigations, private detectives, even potential lawsuits. It was no longer just a football drama. It was becoming a high-stakes game of power, influence, and revenge. Meanwhile, Deion got wind of Florida State's brewing retaliation. Sitting in his office late at night, he chuckled to himself. They scared of a man who's changing the rules. But then, his phone buzzed with a warning from a trusted friend inside the NCAA. Watch your back, Deion. They're coming for you. The warning rattled him, but he knew retreat wasn't an option. If anything, he doubled down. He called Travis, his voice firm. Son, this ain't just about you anymore. This is about every young man who ever thought he had to bow down to the old system. We're shaking the table, and tables don't like to be shook. So, stay strong. History don't get made easy. Travis listened, trying to absorb the weight of it. But a knot of fear sat heavy in his stomach. The drama wasn't slowing down. Florida State alumni were appearing on talk shows, blasting Travis as ungrateful. Jackson State supporters were clapping back, calling it a revolution for HBCU football. And through it all, fans everywhere were left wondering one thing: had Deion Sanders gone too far? Or was this just the beginning of a new era? But what none of them realized was that another revelation was on the horizon. One that would blow the story wide open and drag everyone deeper into the fire. The revelation came like a thunderclap. A sports blog with a reputation for stirring the pot dropped what they called the receipts, and overnight, the story spiraled into a new level of madness. Screenshots allegedly showed correspondence between a Jackson State booster and Travis's uncle, discussing money, cars, and lifestyle perks if Travis flipped. The blog framed it as the smoking gun. The proof that Deion's empire wasn't built on charm alone, but on secret deals. Florida State fans exploded with fury, shouting, "We knew it!" while Jackson State supporters cried foul, insisting it was fabricated. Within hours, ESPN, Fox Sports, and every other outlet picked it up. The narrative shifted. It wasn't just about loyalty or legacy anymore. It was about whether Travis's decision had been tainted from the start. Travis, blindsided by the leak, confronted his uncle in a heated phone call. "Tell me you didn't take anything. Tell me this isn't true." His uncle hesitated. "Look, Trav, I just wanted to make sure you were taken care of. The world's not fair. Sometimes you gotta take what's offered." Travis's voice cracked. "You turned me into a headline. You made it look like I sold out." The call ended with Travis slamming his phone against the wall, tears streaming down his face. Back at home, his mother was devastated. "I told you this would happen. I told you they'd twist your choice into something dirty." His father, on the other hand, seized the moment. "You hear that, boy? You think Deion's about family? He's about winning. You're a pawn to him, nothing more." The house filled with shouts. The family ripping itself apart piece by piece. Meanwhile, Deion Sanders wasn't backing down. At a press conference, he leaned into the microphone, his voice sharp and steady. "Let me make this real clear. Jackson State doesn't need to buy players. We are the players. We are the movement. And if they want to drag my name through the mud, then bring it on. I've been hated before, and I'll be hated again. But one thing I'll never be is ignored." The crowd roared with applause, but behind the applause, whispers grew louder. Could he really keep Jackson State clean under the spotlight? In Tallahassee, Florida State's War Council was in full swing. Boosters pounded the table, demanding retaliation. "If the NCAA won't act fast enough, we'll bury him ourselves," one snarled. Another suggested hiring investigators to dig into Deion's past, hoping to uncover scandals. The head coach, exhausted but vengeful, muttered, "You want to kill prime time? You take away his shine. Expose him. Humiliate him." The plan was set in motion, and soon, anonymous tips began to flood media outlets about alleged rule-breaking at Jackson State. As the attacks mounted, Travis began to crumble under the pressure. During practice, he snapped at teammates, his game slipping. One afternoon, he broke down in the locker room, whispering to himself, "I don't even know if I made the right choice anymore." A teammate put a hand on his shoulder. "Bro, you're the chosen one. Don't let the noise eat you alive." But the words bounced off him like rubber. Then came another twist. An old video surfaced of Travis, filmed months before his decision, in which he told friends FSU is the safe choice. But safe doesn't change history. The clip went viral, suddenly painting him not as a pawn, but as a visionary. Jackson State fans used it as ammunition, declaring, "See, he was never about money, he was about making a statement." Seminole fans, however, saw it as arrogance. He thinks he's bigger than the game. They fumed. The media frenzy hit its peak when Travis's family agreed to appear on a talk show, live on national TV. The cracks were undeniable. His mother, holding back tears, said, "I just want my son to have peace." But peace left the moment he chose Jackson State. His father, voice trembling. With rage, added, "This isn't just a game. This is a betrayal of tradition. And Deion Sanders, he manipulated my boy." The audience gasped. The host leaned forward, and then, out of nowhere, Travis stormed onto the set, voice shaking. "Stop speaking for me. This is my life, my choice. Y'all fighting over me like I'm property. I chose Jackson State because I want to be different. I want to change something. Can't y'all understand that?" The studio erupted. The family stunned into silence. But just when it seemed like Travis had taken back control of the narrative, Florida State's counterattack landed a heavy blow. The NCAA announced it was opening an official investigation into Jackson State's recruitment practices. The headlines blared, "Deion under fire." The college football world held its breath, wondering if this was the beginning of the end for Primetime's revolution. Deion, unshaken on the surface, called a team meeting. His players sat in silence as he spoke. "They want to destroy us. They want to make us bow down. But let me tell you something, this ain't the end. This is the middle of the story. And when the dust settles, history will remember Jackson State as the place that changed it all." His words ignited cheers. But deep down, he knew the stakes had never been higher. Travis left the meeting with his mind racing. His family was fractured, his reputation questioned, and now the NCAA was breathing down his neck. He whispered to himself, "Did I just start a war I can't win?" And as the investigation deepened, secrets were about to spill, secrets that would shock even Travis, and turn this saga into something far darker than anyone ever imagined. The NCAA's investigation became the beating heart of every sports headline. News vans lined up outside Jackson State's campus, cameras waiting for even the smallest slip from Deion Sanders or Travis Hunter. Reporters swarmed students, asking if they'd seen anything suspicious, if they knew about secret payments, if they thought Travis had been bought. The circus atmosphere was unbearable. And for Travis, it felt like his every step was being tracked, judged, dissected. One night, unable to sleep, Travis snuck out of his dorm and walked to the empty practice field. The bleachers loomed like ghosts in the dark, the silence broken only by the hum of distant traffic. He sat on the 50-yard line, staring up at the stars, whispering, "Was this all a mistake?" Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind him. It was Deion, but serious. "Son, you think you made the wrong move?" Travis stayed silent, his eyes glassy. Deion sat down beside him, lowering his voice. "You shook the entire country. They scared because you didn't follow the script. They want you to doubt yourself. Don't let them win." But the pep talk wasn't enough to silence the storm brewing inside. The next morning, another bombshell dropped. An anonymous whistleblower claimed to be part of Jackson State's inner circle, alleging there were under-the-table promises tied to Travis's flip. The whistleblower promised to release evidence soon. The internet erupted. Seminole fans declared victory. Jackson State fans cried sabotage. And sports pundits feasted on the drama like sharks smelling blood. Travis's family was thrown deeper into chaos. His father called him, voice filled with venom. They're closing in, son. You think Deion gonna take the fall for you? When it all comes crashing down, you'll be the one left holding the bag, his mother, softer but broken, whispered. Baby, I just want my boy back. Not this headline, not this controversy, just my boy. The strain finally cracked during a heated practice session. Reporters caught footage of Travis and a teammate nearly coming to blows after a drill, shouting at each other in frustration. The clip went viral within minutes. Fans claimed Travis was mentally crumbling. Opponents mocked him, tweeting memes about him being Prime's puppet. The noise was deafening, but then came an unexpected, twistan, unlikely voice of support. An NFL legend, one who had no ties to Jackson State or Florida State, publicly defended Travis on national TV. This young man made a bold choice. Everybody's scared because he broke tradition, but tradition doesn't change the world's courage does. Suddenly, the narrative shifted again. Instead of a villain, Travis was painted by some as a revolutionary under siege. Deion seized the moment. At a rally-like team event, he stood on stage with Travis by his side. The crowd of students and fans roared as Deion raised their joined hands in the air. They said we couldn't, they said we shouldn't, but look at us now. History ain't written in comforts, written in courage. The chants of Jackson shook the rafters, giving Travis a rare flicker of hope. But Florida State wasn't finished. Days later, a damning report leaked claiming Jackson State had funneled money through third parties to sweeten Travis's decision. Though the evidence was circumstantial, the headlines screamed guilt. The NCAA announced hearings, and suddenly Jackson State's season hung in the balance. Suspensions, sanctions, even vacated wins were on the table. The weight nearly broke Travis. In a late-night call to his mother, his voice cracked. Maybe I should have just gone to FSU. Maybe I ruined everything. His mother, torn between heartbreak and love, finally softened. Baby, maybe you did, but maybe you didn't. You wanted to be different, and different ain't easy. Don't let them make you regret who you are. On the day of the NCAA hearing, tension blanketed the air. Deion walked in wearing his signature shades, a silent statement that he wouldn't bow. Travis sat behind him, hands trembling, cameras flashing. The testimonies dragged on for hours, with accusations flying, denials stacking up, and the room crackling with drama. Seminole fans cheered every jab. Jackson State supporters held their breath at every defense. When the session ended, no verdict was announced. Instead, the NCAA declared the investigation ongoing. The uncertainty only fanned the flames of speculation. Some swore Deion would be exonerated. Others insisted Travis's career was doomed before it even began. The only truth was that nothing was settled. Back on campus, Deion gathered his players one more time. His voice was low but fierce. They can investigate. They can slander. They can try to destroy us. But they can't erase what we've done. Travis, you ain't just a recruit, you're a symbol. And symbols don't break. They last. The team erupted in applause, but Travis stayed quiet. The words sinking into him like heavy stones. That night, scrolling through endless tweets, memes, and headlines, Travis whispered to himself, I started something I can't stop. And for the first time, he realized this wasn't just about football anymore. It was about power, pride, and legacy. And as the credits rolled on this chapter of the saga, the world was left divided, waiting and hungry for what came next. Would Deion Sanders survive the storm? Would Travis Hunter thrive or collapse under the pressure? The only thing everyone agreed on was that the drama was far from over. And so, here we are. Standing at the edge of one of the wildest recruiting stories the world has ever seen. A decision that was supposed to be simple turned into a firestorm of betrayal. Accusations, family drama, and high-stakes power plays. Deion Sanders didn't just grab the #1 recruit, he rattled the cage of the entire college football establishment. Florida State fans feel robbed, Jackson State fans feel empowered, and Travis Hunter. He's caught in the middle, carrying the weight of history on his shoulders. But the questions still hang heavy in the air. Will the NCAA's investigation clear Jackson State or crush the program under scandal? Will Travis prove his doubters wrong and become the legend Deion promised he'd be? Or will this gamble backfire, leaving him as a cautionary tale in the book of college football? And what about Florida State? Will they recover? Or will this betrayal haunt them for years to come? Now it's your turn. What do you think? Was this the greatest heist in recruiting history? Or a bold revolution that will change the game forever? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear every hot take, every theory, every emotional reaction. And if you love diving into this roller coaster of drama, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss another story packed with twists, betrayals, and shocking reveals. You've just witnessed history unfold. But trust me, this saga is far from over. Stay tuned. It's far from over. Stay tuned.